Think about something that you're passionate about, whether it may be basketball, engineering, acting, or making music. Just anything at all that you love doing. Now, I'm sure that you all have someone in your respective fields of passion who you look up to. Perhaps it's a LeBron, maybe it's Nikola Tesla, or maybe it's Natalie Portman. In any case, you get my drift. We all have someone who inspires us, someone whose work made us fall in love with whatever it is that we're passionate about. So, given how much of an impact that person has on your craft, how do you think you would feel if they hated your work? Imagine that you worked for 10 years in the industry, sleepless nights, student loans, missing out on experiences with friends and family. Also, you could dedicate the necessary time and energy into mastering your craft in order to pursue this long life passion. Now, let's say that you finally get hired at the best engineering firm, or you finally get casted in your first major movie. Therefore, you feel relieved. All the seeds of hard work that you've sown have come to life. However, it turns out the reception to your work isn't as well received as you'd have liked. In fact, Nikola Tesla crawls out of his grave to rebuke the engine you designed. And Natalie Portman tells you that you should switch careers after seeing your movie's premiere. How do you think you'd feel? Would you be devastated, or perhaps embarrassed? Would you begin to doubt yourself, or would you question the legitimacy of your work? Would you begin to wonder if you should pack it all up? Or would you be angry, upset that they had the nerve to disrespect you like that? Well, if you can imagine even half of what I just said, then you might be able to understand how J. Cole was feeling after receiving a call from his childhood idol Nas. You see, J. Cole had just released his hit song Workout, and although it was well received by mainstream audiences, not everyone was enthused by the song's release. If you are watching this video, then chances are you know who J. Cole is. And you might be wondering, how did this phone call have any effect on the career of a now Grammy award-winning rapper with 5 platinum plaques? Well, that's what we're about to find out. In this video, I'll be explaining how the release of the song Let Nas Down proved to be the moment which defined J. Cole's career. I'm going to try to upload videos similar to this every week, so if you're enjoying this video so far, just remember to subscribe and you'll be able to keep up to date with my releases. Thanks for the support. J. Cole is known today for being a humble rapper, one who typically focuses on more introspective music, and because of that, he's managed to grow a loyal fan base over the years. However, like most persons, J. Cole wasn't necessarily always like this. It took years of going through life and being shaped by different experiences before he was able to truly find and understand himself. So, if we're going to understand how the release of Let Nas Down defined his career, we're going to have to start from the beginning. Let's imagine you are Jermaine Cole, and you were born on a military base to 2 loving parents. In spite of that, things just didn't really work out between them, and unfortunately, it wasn't long before your parents split. Now, you've always been a creative and curious child, but you never got the space to really express and explore that creativity until after your parents split, when your mom moved in with your stepdad. This was because you finally got your own room and you were finally allowed to completely immerse yourself into music. It wasn't long before you found yourself putting Nas's lyrics on the wall. It turns out that he inspired you. His music affected you in ways others simply could not. So, you decided you wanted to make music. But to make music you needed a beat machine, and that would be much easier said than done. In spite of the insane price, you finally got yourself a beat machine. It took a lot of bargaining with your mother, but it was worth it. Therefore, it was now official. You were an aspiring artist. So let's fast forward a couple years. You've worked jobs at ad offices. You've been a skateboard mascot. You've been a delivery boy. You've been through all the unglamorous ups and downs. Yet it seems as if your dreams of being a rapper were still far out of reach. Despite your many attempts of getting signed, they all prove futile. Not to mention, you have no money saved up. So if you don't get some momentum soon, then you might have to completely kiss your dreams goodbye. However, you didn't cave to the pressure, and you managed to release your first mixtape titled The Come Up. Unfortunately, the reception was great, and it wasn't long before word started going around about an underground rapper who had some potential. And because of this buzz, a certain rap legend called Jay-Z reaches out and signs you to your first record deal. Now, this is where things get complicated. At first, stuff isn't bad. You release your next mixtape called The Warm Up, and it too was well received, causing your fandom to grow even more. And then when you thought things couldn't get much better, you got to meet your childhood idol, Nas. Consequently, you were over the moon. This was probably the highlight of your career thus far, and as a result of your success, the next stage of your career was fast approaching. This next stage being the release of your first album. Things, however, get tricky. You see, the fact of the matter is, you garnered most of your fans by dropping very simple but introspective songs. This made you an extremely relatable figure. However, it in turn capped your mainstream appeal. Therefore, the number crunching execs at the label were skeptical about releasing your album without a radio hit. After all, if the album didn't do major numbers, then that would equal a poor return on investment. So, you decided to lock yourself away in the studio, equipped with a new goal, and that goal was to create a hit record. Even though you wanted to create a radio hit, your entire career up to this point has been made by just making songs which felt true to yourself. So trying to formulate a radio hit put you in an uncomfortable position. This wasn't what you were used to. So you struggled. It took months of rejected song after rejected song before you could make one that the label agreed had hit potential. And after a few weeks, you dropped the single Workout. Once again, you came through under pressure. It was a success. It got massive radio play and mainstream attention. However, something about the song rubbed some of your core fans the wrong way. They could tell that something was off about the song. They could tell that it wasn't authentic. But you couldn't let that affect you. After all, you finally got an album release date. You finally were able to take that next crucial step in your career. Despite the fact that you were progressing well, it wasn't all rainbows and sunshine. The thing is, you always knew that some people had mixed reactions to the song Workout. You had been hearing rumblings since day one, but it never seemed to be too much of a big deal. This changed, however, when No ID gave you a call. On this call, he expressed how disappointed he was in the fact that you dropped that song. He let you know that Nas was especially disappointed. After all, he viewed you as one of the chosen ones. But now, you've compromised your integrity by chasing a hit. And he couldn't believe that you would do that. Okay now, even though Nas was indeed your idol, this still pissed you off. After all, he had no idea how much you slaved for this album release date. He had no idea how much time and effort you had put into making this song. Why couldn't he just appreciate it like everyone else, you think? Doesn't he realize how much good this song has done for you? After all, he had no idea how much you slaved for this album release date. He had no idea how much time and effort you had put into making this song. You think, why couldn't he just appreciate it like everyone else? Doesn't he realize how much good this song has done for you? Soon, curse words start flying from your mouth. You can't believe No ID and Nas even had the nerve to say that to you. Despite this, after you hung up the phone and the conversation had ended, you still found yourself doing some soul searching. Perhaps Nas had a point. Perhaps you shouldn't have dropped that song. In any case, you didn't have any time to waste. You didn't have any time to think or any time to wallow. You had to prepare for your upcoming tour. And it turns out that preparing for that tour was the right kind of focus you needed for you to have an epiphany which changed the way you looked at your career. So it's not long before you get to writing. You decide that you need to put this epiphany in a song. Maybe Nas will listen to it and maybe he'll understand your perspective. So after a few days of work, you complete a song titled Let Nas Down. You followed up your successful debut album with Born Sinner. When that album was released, the song which immediately garnered the most attention was Let Nas Down, and that was not without good reason. From the first line, you let everyone know what the song was going to be about with lyrics like freedom or jail, clips inserted, a baby's been born, same time a man is murdered, the beginning and end. As far as rap goes, it's only natural. I explain my plateau and also what defines my name. With this song, you planned on outlining what defined your name. You planned on setting the record straight on what your role and purpose in this rap game would be. You then went on to pay homage to 3 rappers you idolized growing up. You also let everyone know that the story you're about to tell doesn't come from a self-righteous frame of mind, but rather from one which has been shaped by both positive and negative perspectives. Yeah, long live the idols, may they never be your rivals. Pac was like Jesus, Nas wrote the Bible. Now what you're about to hear, a tale of glory and sin. No ID my mentor, now let the story begin. You start by explaining how much of an impact and influence Nas's music had on you. I used to print out Nas raps and tape him up on my wall. I thought they were words, but it was pictures I saw, and since I wanted to draw, I used to read them in awe. You then explained how important it was to you that you got the opportunity to meet Nas. Fast forward, who would have thought that I meet him on tour? I'm earning stripes now, got Adidas galore. Backstage I shook his hand, let him know that he's the man. When he said he was a fan, it was too hard to understand. Despite this, you couldn't enjoy one of the best moments in your career. Even though meeting Nas was one of the best moments in your career, you couldn't get to enjoy it simply because you were too busy stressing trying to make a hit record. No time to soak up the moment though, cause I was in a jam, Hope asking where the record that the radio could play, and I was striking out for months, ninth inning feeling fair. Even though you made what turned out to be the biggest hit of your career so far, it came at the expense of Nas's approval. Dion called me when it dropped, sounded sad but sincere, told me Nas heard his single and he hate that shit. Said you the one, yo, why you make that shit? I can't believe I let Nas down. At first you thought that maybe Nas was right. Maybe you shouldn't have dropped that song. However, you were following your heart by making that song. But then you thought to yourself, maybe your heart wasn't even in the right place. Maybe your heart had been influenced by all the outside pressure to make a hit song. In any case, you couldn't understand why Nas was so disappointed. After all, he too compromised and made a song solely to be a radio hit. I couldn't help but think that maybe I had made a mistake. I mean, you made You Owe Me Dog. I thought that you could relate. But while I shot up the charts, you mean to tell me that I was not up to par when I followed my heart? Granted, my heart was tainted by my mind. I kept on saying, where's the hits? You ain't got none. In the next lines, you reflect on how disconnected the labels are from the fans by relying solely on numbers and charts. In spite of the data and information the labels used, you knew intuitively that this approach was flawed. After all, you went to the shows. You saw the fans turning out with your own 2 eyes. You knew the support was there. Labels are archaic, formulaic with their outcomes. They don't know, they just study the charts. Me, I study the shows, the fans study their hearts. I had a feeling I was killing, and this music we were spilling out would change lives forever if label put it out. You reflect and think about the months leading up to your first album's release. You did everything correctly. You had garnered comparisons to legends, and there was clearly a demand for your music. However, the labels wouldn't budge until you got them a radio hit. So you realized that you had to play the game. You had to give some to get some, and hence why you made work out. What you didn't expect though was the fact that by making this song, you lost the respect of Nas. You lost the respect of one of your childhood idols, one of the persons who shaped your music. However, despite losing Nas's respect and despite feeling ashamed, you knew that releasing the radio hit was the right thing to do. Nas wasn't in your shoes. He could never understand the significance of your own individual actions. Still no release date from the label. Are they insane? Coach told me play the game to change the game, but on the way I let Nas down. I got no one to blame, I'm ashamed I let Nas down. But this is God's plan, you could never understand. I always believed in a bigger picture. If I could get them to listen outside my core, then I can open the door. Reintroduce them to honesty, show them that they need more, the difference between the Pretenders and the Kendrick Lamars. Growing up, you had always been an idealist. You have always been working towards a singular vision. That vision being a world free of pain and suffering. So, you thought that by speaking about your experiences, you could offer perspective to others. You could possibly help them better their lives. However, your core fan base was small. There was no way you could spread your message effectively by just releasing music to your current fans. No, you had to cast a wider net. You had to get your music to people outside of your core fan base. And the only way you could do this was by releasing a radio hit. You needed a mainstream song to get people intrigued about your music. You needed a radio hit to bring awareness to your brand outside of your fan base. It was the only way. And so I took the fall like the son of the Lord, on the cross dying for that fake shit you bought. For the past decade, if I should pass, please let this be my last essay. Therefore I write from the heart. Apologies to the OGs for sacrificing my art, but I'm here for a greater purpose, and you right from the start. I'm just a man of the people, not above but equal, and for the greater good I walk amongst the evil. The Lord sacrificed his only son in order to save humans from their sin. Conversely, you viewed compromising your integrity by making inauthentic music as your own sacrifice. And even though you know the OGs will disapprove, to you, the so-called integrity of your music is a small price to pay in order to see your vision come through. One thing is for sure, however, you are no God. You know that you are susceptible to everything which you preach against. And just like you realized on your tour, it's hard not to fall victim to the combination of money, fame, and a raging ego. But you can't let the risk of being a hypocrite stop you. After all, making music is what you're good at. So you have to face the risk of corruption head on. You have to face the risk of corruption if you plan to stay in this rap game long enough to accomplish your goals. To convey this, you sing, "Don't cry, mama, this is the life I choose myself. Just pray along the way that I don't lose myself." You understand the risks, and you also understand that the probability of you failing is incredibly high. Still, all you can do is have faith. All you can do is have faith that you will be successful in your pursuits. The album Born Sinner went on to be a success. Nas indeed listened to the song and understood what J. Cole was trying to say. He even went on to release a reply called Made Nas Proud. It looks like the mentor and mentee had reconciled. Yes, this is an interesting story and all, but you must still be wondering why this moment was the one which defined J. Cole's career. And the reason is rather simple. In his position, most people would have caved in. Most people would have probably chosen to internalize the words of the person who inspired them without much of a second thought. Instead, J. Cole reflected on his actions and he reflected on his motivations and came to the conclusion that despite Nas's opinion on the matter, he still made the right choice. This moment made J. Cole question and therefore understand what he really wanted to accomplish in his career. The song Let Nas Down perfectly encapsulates the internal struggle which followed Cole throughout his career and thus it represented the motives behind all his future decisions. You are J. Cole in 2021. You've accomplished a lot for yourself. In fact, you have cemented yourself as a top 3 rapper in the game right now. And as it pertains to your vision, well, I guess it's called an ideal for a reason. Even though it can't be denied that your music has touched the lives of millions, the hip-hop community and the world in general still has a long way to go before it can be called a place free of pain and suffering. In spite of this, I don't think you would consider your career a failure. Although it took many mistakes and moments of shame, you put together a career which still managed to bring thousands together. In fact, there's not a lot of people who would deny your impact on the genre. In any case, life has caught up with you. You're a husband and a father now, so you're putting your energy into being the best version of those two roles. You've carried the baton as far as you could, but now it's time to hand it off. If you made it to the end of the video, then thank you very much. Just leave a comment below and give me some suggestions on which topics I should cover. So until then, see you later.